Welcome, Closer Nation, to the Community with Closers podcast, your go-to destination for all things sales, success, and unstoppable ambition. I'm your host, Pat Clark, and I'm thrilled to embark on this electrifying journey with you. In this podcast, we're diving deep into the world of sales. What's going on, guys? Pat Clark here with another Community with Closers. I got my man Chris Sweet in the house. What is up, brother?
What's up, man? Glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. Dude, we got this makeshift studio. I mean, this is it right here, dude.
This studio is dope. It's awesome, man. Yeah.
I appreciate it, man. It's come a long way, though, I must say, right? We were doing the StreamYard. We had, computer to computer, and now we're here, sitting together, chilling. So this is pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, let's get into it, man. So this is like jam-packed 30 minutes. So we're going to, kind of hit you with some good questions. But,
okay,
I want to start off with your story, man. So, where'd Swamp Rabbit come from? Tell us kind of the journey.
Yeah, man. So I started in the moving world at another local moving company. During that time, I had just bounced back from some troubles I had in the past. I had lost my license. So I was just a mover for, 4.5 years. And I knew I was about to get my license back, so I started doing a little bit of side jobs here and there. And then the week I got my driver's license back, I actually started Swamp Rabbit Moving.
Dude, so where's your mindset on that? You're like, I'm going to start a company. I'm thinking back on that because we both did it, right? It's like, I'm going to start a company. I'm just going to go do this on my own. So what was this thought there? Like, you can do it better? Like, what did that?
Well, my role model growing up was always my grandpa.
Nice.
And he's always on his own truck lot where he sold dump trucks and stuff like that. So I knew that I kind of had it in my genes and that I wanted to follow after his footsteps.
Yeah.
I just didn't know where it was at until I started moving. Then I fell in love with it. And I kind of saw the back end processes and stuff. And I was like, this is something I can do, right?
Yeah.
Started doing side jobs and realized it was really something I can do. Now it's just about legitimizing it. But yeah, that's kind of how we took off and kind of where I got the inspiration to start my own company.
Yeah. Dude, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's what we talk about, right? Goya, get off your butt, right? Make it happen.
Absolutely.
And so it's like having that little inspiration, like, I can do this, you know what I mean? I can maybe do it a little better, or I could just do this, and having the gumption to get out there and side hustle. So, like, where were the jobs coming from, right? We're talking salesperson here. So, like, what did that look like? Were you door knocking? Like, what did that look like?
So my first customer, like my claim to fame was moving stuff from this place on Malden Road called Roadhouse or Rock House Antiques.
Oh, okay.
That's where I started with the back of my pickup truck, just delivering antiques. I made a connection there that got me in. And like anytime anybody bought anything from there, I mean, we would throw it in the back of the truck and deliver it. And then that evidently led to like us moving pieces into people's houses. And they're like, oh, we're moving soon.
Oh,
sweet. Well, we could do that too. We'll just go rent a U-Haul and knock it out for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pulling up in the U-Haul and making it happen.
Yep. Stacking them up. Saved up a little bit of money and bought my first truck.
Nice.
And it was all downhill from there.
Nice, dude. Nice. And I saw a post just the other day. How many trucks you rolling out now?
So we have 21 trucks.
Nice.
All different sizes. I think 18 or 26 feet, and then the rest is like a 16-foot and a couple other pack vans and stuff. But
okay.
Yep.
So let's rewind a little bit, right? So at like 21 trucks now, so we, people watching and stuff like that, they see, Precision Pro Wash, they're seeing these companies, right? And they're like, shoot, out of the blue, man, you got 21 trucks. It's like, no, right? There's like, they don't see the crushing of the grapes.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So like, let's rewind a little bit and growth, man. Growth is scary. It's expensive. So let's talk a little bit about that. When you started, getting those trucks on the road, hiring, right?
Yeah.
Teaching. Do you have sales teams now?
Oh yeah.
I would imagine.
Yep.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, maybe 2 key hires for you.
Yeah.
Throughout that process.
So once I did start the business and I kind of started delegating, I realized really quickly my least favorite thing to do was operations. I was really good at sales. I enjoyed getting out there, making connections, booking jobs.
Yep.
That was my passion. So a key hire for me would have been the operations role to kind of take that responsibility off my plate and let me really pursue what I love doing.
Yes.
Next key hire, I would say, is actually somebody we just hired. We just brought in a GM, and he's still just getting his feet wet. He's only been there 3 weeks, but I can already tell that it's going to definitely change the dynamic of the business and how we operate for the positive.
I love it. And that was huge for me too. Like, you hire these people, right? And they level you up.
Yeah.
As a company, but also you, like, your zone of genius, right? Yours was sales, communication, like building the team, right? And getting out of that thing you dread that's holding you back, right? As a bottleneck. I mean, what did that feel like when you got those people in place? Like, you started seeing movement right away?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were growing at that point. I was like any other business owner. When we first started, I wanted to do everything, right? Like, I had to have control of my baby.
Nobody can do it better.
Nobody can do it better than me, right?
Yeah.
And I can do a million things at one time.
Yep.
That is not the case. So we were growing a little bit at that time, but really when we started delegating and started really bringing in some help on the back end, I mean, it was just like day and night. Like, our growth trajectory just kind of took off.
Yes.
I think another thing that really kind of helped us grow too is that, I kind of came from nothing. Like, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was used to not making a lot of money. So I had the ability during the first 2 years or whatever to kind of hold on to all that cash. And every time I had another chance to buy a truck, that's what I did, right? And just pay cash for it. And I think it's super smart starting your business and not right away going into a ton of debt.
Yeah.
Like, debt is good. It's a good leverage tool to have, but I think, those initial year or two it's pretty good, I would say, to kind of
crucial
pay cash for everything, right?
I agree with that. So similar to us, right? Like, I actually, it was a blessing and a curse. I ruined my credit. So somebody came down, they're like, dude, this was like 2008.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we're going to give you like 10 homes to wash every week, right? But there's no water at them, right? There were foreclosures. I'm like, all right, dude, I'll go max out 2 credit cards, buy the water tank, buy the, trailer. And so sure enough, we got like maybe 3 houses out of the deal.
Oh no.
Maxed out 2 credit cards. But it was good because, like, I learned a lot, and I was always driving the next service truck, right? Like, that's, as business owners, right? Young entrepreneurs, like, we can't go buy the nice fancy truck in the beginning, right? You're just driving the next work truck.
Yeah, for whatever gets the job done.
Yes. Yeah. And that's it. And that's what it was for me, right? I was always driving the next work truck, and I was trying to put them on as quick as possible, right?
Yeah.
And then that's where the sales team come in. So, you got these key hires, and then you're like, okay, now we need to feed the beast.
Yes.
Right. So, like, for people watching, you may have, 1, 2 trucks, and you're doing sales like that. For me, like, I could book up 2, maybe 3 trucks max, but then I was the bottleneck, and I was like, ooh, I need to replicate me on the sales side, because that's what I love too. I love sales. I love body language, going back and forth.
Yeah.
And so I started diving into that. So talk about that. Like, I know you had to level up on the sales side. What did that look like?
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in, like, the keys to success in sales is, number one, listen, right? Don't overtalk the customer. Listen to what they have to say. Go ahead and start figuring out what kind of objections they're going to come up with, and go ahead and start playing that in the back of your mind. And then that way you're kind of in that state where you can kind of just rebuttal right off the top of the head. Another one I'm a big believer in too is that if the customer's calling you with a problem and you solve the solution, you shouldn't ask for the close, right? You should just go ahead and initiate the close.
Yes.
And so what I always teach my sales team is, like, build value through the phone call. We don't do any scripts. I mean, we have like generic scripts that you can kind of look at, but we're not strictlers for scripts, right? We want people to have the creative ability to close the job they want to close, because a lot of sales is just mirror matching, right? It's just monotone. Like, are you matching their tone of voice? Are you matching their excitement? So therefore, we don't constrain them to a script per se. Like, we have them and we have rebuttals, but we're not strictly on it.
Not like you gotta be like this.
You
gotta sound like
be
that
like
robot.
this, right?
No, it's like, have that, that connection. I love that.
So just building value through the process, and not asking for the close. Just go ahead and initiate the close. Like, assume it, right?
They called you. You're the best.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that we're there to build a relationship with you, and we're there not only to bring value to the company, but bring value to you as well in ways you might not think. Like, for example, we do moving, right? So, like, somebody moving out of state, they may need help with home insurance or a handyman. Like, why don't we just go ahead and just ask those quick questions and bring a little bit of value to that client to kind of help the process a little bit smoother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I seen from all your postings, like how many 5-star reviews your team's getting,
Yeah,
and like putting that stuff out there, like for your team, you know what I mean? Like they're excited, and you can just see like throughout your team, the way you package things, like you are different, right?
for sure.
And I love how you put that into a spin of sales. It's like, this is what we do. We don't just come and, throw your stuff in a truck. No, the way you wrap things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be in your sales presentation.
My guys, they're like, so, I mean, if you go look at our reviews, you'll see it all through our reviews. Like we're laughing, we're having a good time. We're taking the stress off of customers because moving's like the number 4 most stressful event in your life, right?
Yeah.
So we get there and initially we just go ahead and make that personal connection with them, get them laughing, get them calmed down, show them that they're in good hands. And then the rest is history after that.
Yep. Taking care of, move them on. And you guys unpack too?
We do it all.
Do it all.
So packing, moving, local, long distance, unpacking, storage.
Nice.
Just got into storage.
Yeah, I saw the facility. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you just bought a new building?
Yeah, so we got a 40,000 square foot warehouse. And it's not like your typical self-storage, just like how all the major van lines do it, like United, Allied. Best way to describe it is like a wooden pod. We put your furniture in and we stack it with forklifts.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's convenience. And I think like as you grow too, you're like, okay, what else can we do? How can we serve the client at a higher level, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of them, for you, right?
It was, yeah. It was one of the verticals that we were going to take to continue to boost revenue. And we got some more in our back pocket, but this year for us is like a big foundation year. Yes, we want to grow in revenue, but that's not the biggest factor. We want to go ahead and lay down the foundation this year for the next 30 years, right?
Yeah.
That way we can start doing acquisitions or putting up new locations or whatever the case may be. But this year is like hone in on the systems and processes.
Yeah.
Make sure it's dialed in and then grow even more than what,
now you just take that model. And
Yeah.
you're just
Now
like implanting that model.
just plug and play.
Yes. It sounds familiar. I love it. I love it. So with that being said, right? So how many years in business?
This is year 4 right here. So October will be 4.
Nice. And you're already talking about acquisitions. You're already talking about expanding like that. And so I love that because, people that have been in business for 40 years moving, right?
Yeah.
They're one location, they're not doing what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I think that comes from events, right? Like that's where I first met you, was at an event, right? And we were going there just like trying to see what was going on. So with events, I think you go to a couple. Are you in any masterminds or anything?
So I have a coach right now. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Nice.
Yep. I'm with Mike Claudio over at WinRate.
Nice. Yep. Dude, Mike is the man.
He's an awesome guy for sure.
Yeah. So, you're always looking to strive. And I think this is key because, when I'm talking to business owners, right, and they're scaling at a rapid rate, 4 years, even 5 years, right? A lot of that is somebody's already done it or somebody's been there, right, before us. And they kind of like help us pave the way, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Like they've already been up the mountain. So, we hit on sales, we hit on the operation, the key hires. And so what does a coach do for you? Like as an entrepreneur, what is that doing for you?
Yeah. So when I first started, like I said before, I was just a mover. I only had a GED, not the smartest guy in the room by far. So I knew initially, like as soon as I was going to start really making this serious and a legit business, that I was going to have to get around smart people. Yes. I was going to have to put myself in the right rooms and figure out who could answer questions that I know I'm going to have. Right. And so that's what I did, met you at an event. I went to a ton of events the first year or two. Yeah. I was probably at like every single one. Awesome. But yeah, so I did that just to gain knowledge and then, reach out to people in my industry that I looked up to and got around them, flew out to them, checked out their location. But I think, the key thing I look for in a coach, and my coach kind of put this in perspective for me too, is that I'm looking for somebody that's not going to solve today's problems. I'm looking for somebody that's going to solve next year's problems or 2 years from now problems, right? Yeah. And that's just kind of how I gauge what kind of coach I'm going to go after or what kind of networking, or if I've leveled up from a coach. Like I've leveled up a couple of times from a coach and just had to move to another one. No harm, no foul. They got me to where I needed to be.
Yep.
But now I got to meet a new coach that's going to take me to the next level. Right.
Yep. Yeah. I think like in businesses, right, we have those plateaus.
Yeah.
And same as entrepreneurs, I always say you got to get it, you got to want it, and you have to have the capacity to do it as an owner, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that might be like stuff at home. It might be, whatever, family, kids, right? We got a lot that comes with the entrepreneur, and sometimes we got to make sacrifices.
Absolutely.
And it's hard. And so with that, that's why I always say, like, and that comes from traction, right? You
Yep.
got to get it, want it, have the capacity to do it. And that's where we level up our team too, because they have to have the same mindset when they come here, and we, rate them as well. Right.
Yeah.
And they got to get it, want to have the capacity to do it,
Absolutely.
to perform. Right. Because in reality, to serve our customers at a high level, like we have to be on point with training, you know what I mean? Doing exercises, maybe sales operations.
Yep.
So with that, like, I love that, man, like getting constant coaching, right?
Yep.
Where we can level up as us, because, like same with me, right? Like barely made it through high school. Right.
Yep.
And I think the system, like the school, like our teachers, they kind of failed us in a way.
For
Right.
sure.
But in a good way, because now we're like, prove me, you know what I mean? Hold my beer, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
watch
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And now, you see guys that GED, whatever,
Yeah.
and they got awesome companies. They're leading people, right? And so I think that's really fascinating to see, where you've come from, right? And to what you're building now. And so leveling up, man, leveling up the team. So let's talk about training, because I know you do a lot of training too. What does that look like? Do you do like on-site training? Do you do it in the facility? What does that look like?
We do all kinds of training. I'm a firm believer that, as much as I pour in myself, like you said, I have to pour into my team, right? So like we have a mock 1-bedroom apartment in our warehouse, and that's where everybody, like all the new hires, go train. That's going to be field staff. All my management level positions, they all have their own coaches that the company pays for.
Nice.
Not necessarily because I can't do it, because I still pour into my team, right? But
Yep.
I can't devote as much time and focus as a coach could have. And plus, that's another good outlet for them to go to too.
I like that.
Like an arbitration type thing where like it's safe to talk there with your coach.
Yes.
And help you with whatever maybe you don't feel comfortable telling me, or maybe you're embarrassed or something to ask a question. Well, you got a coach and go ask them, or you can come ask me.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's so true. And so we had a box here for the longest time, right? It was like unsolicited, if you will, right? Like anonymous.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you had any issue with any staff member, something's going on, because I don't know, like every time out in the warehouse, they're like, snitches get stitches, right? Like I'm like, dude, no, like this is bigger, right? We got so much at stake now. Like, we need to know, like we want to level up. And so it's funny, but we put a box out there. So I relate with that, right? So like the managers need somebody to go to that they can vent to, or like, hey, I got this issue, you know what I mean? Oh yeah. And then they kind of guide them that way. So I love that, man. So that's good stuff. So, oh man, crushing it, because you got so much going on. So let's go back to sales real quick.
Yeah.
So how many on your sales team, and what does that look like? Are you guys doing over the phone sales? Are you going to BNI groups? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah. So right now we are at 2 sales, inside sales. We have a sales manager. We're adding a 3rd sales, inside sales, and then we have an outside sales rep as well.
Nice.
That kind of does heads up the commercial division. Typically we run with about 4 sales and a sales manager.
Okay.
But we got a little light. We had to make some shifts and changes, but we're getting back up to building the sales team.
Yes.
And so all my inside sales, they do phone estimates, virtual estimates, and they also each attend like some sort of networking event where they can drop their own clients, where they get a little bit of higher commission.
Love it.
Yep.
So when you say virtual, because I think this is pretty cool, because I know, a lot of people in our industry, right, they're doing it over the phone and that kind of stuff, where they can do it a virtual quote. Yeah. So what does that look like for you guys?
So virtual, and we just have this, I think it's called Live Switch. Essentially you just send a customer a link. It's kind of like FaceTime. They click the link. You're on one side, they're on the other side, and then we just do a walkthrough of the house. We do a lot of those typically for clients that are moving from out of state to South Carolina, because obviously we can't do it in person.
Yeah.
So that's where we'll utilize that. Or if like, they're an hour and a half away and, we don't want to send a salesperson all the way out there.
Yeah.
So we'll do a virtual that way.
That makes so much sense. So do you have like a PowerPoint too that you do, kind of walk through their home and then do a PowerPoint on why?
No. So what we'll do is we'll send them, what we did is that we essentially created like an SOP for the client.
Okay.
So we'll send them an SOP ahead of time, and it'll just be like a walkthrough of how we can collect the most data. Like, walk in your front door, slow, left to right, we'll address you to go further or whatever. And then that way they're
Got it.
prepared and they're not like shy and timid. And then we can collect all the data we need to as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so good. And so let's talk about KPIs. Like when you're doing that, do you have a certain percent of close rate that you're looking at when you're doing those?
See, so we track KPIs based off a phone estimate with no virtual. We track a KPI on virtuals, and we track a KPI on on-sites.
Love it.
In person. So we track each different quote process. Has its own specific KPI metric that we're looking for.
Love it. Yeah. Because it's so, I mean, for viewers watching, like I touch on it on this podcast a lot, is like, you gotta be tracking.
For sure.
You know, and I think in the beginning, we probably weren't tracking.
No.
We're just like, go get the next job.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, we need money more than tracking.
Absolutely.
Right?
We're focused on making money and keeping the doors open.
That's exactly right.
But now, like you said, like as we've evolved, like the last year, we've really been keen on collecting data, right? Because data tells stories.
Yep.
And those stories lead to growth and leads to, how you spend your marketing dollars, or, is that employee the right employee in the right position? But that, like I said, data tells you anything you really need to know.
It's so amazing. And you can forecast. Like, I love that, because you can play with these spreadsheets now. You can say, okay, I want an employee in 2 months, right, to run another truck, whatever it may be. And you can forecast what that payroll is going to look like, what the fuel looks like, and what that revenue and growth is going to increase, right? And then all down to the P&L.
Absolutely. That was another key hire that we made too, even though it's a vendor. So we hired a fractional CFO.
Nice.
In November.
Okay.
And it's been a game changer. Like, budgets were not my thing. So I didn't have any like budget versus actual or no cash forecasting. But like these last 3 months have kind of been like magical to see that on paper and like,
you're like, we're actually doing good.
Yeah. Have clear guidelines of, how you need, like before I was just, checking the bank account. Wow, we got a lot of money in there. Cool. Let's buy another truck.
Yep.
Now we actually have some clear data and we have a clear budget. And I think that alone will change 2024 for the good.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I agree with that. So let's talk about that, man. Fractional CFO. So, for viewers that are watching, they don't know, that you can actually get a fractional CFO. What does that look like? So
a fractional CFO is essentially just like a CFO, but they have multiple clients. Mm-hmm. They just service multiple clients. And what the difference between like a bookkeeper and a CFO, or an accountant and a CFO, is CFO focuses more on future stuff, right?
Yes.
Bookkeepers like, reconciling the books and focusing on today's problems.
And they do it by the book too.
By the book, yeah. CFO, they're actually forecasting revenue, forecasting growth. They can do financial modeling. So like when we go to open new locations, we can do a financial model and see what that's going to actually cost us to open it right or to acquire right. Yes. Can I take $100,000 distribution? Go ask your fractional CFO, right? They'll be able to know based on the data that they track.
I love that, man. That's huge. So that's definitely larger company, stuff, right?
Yeah, I think about $5 million is probably a good mark to like really start.
I would agree with that. Yep. Yeah. That's awesome, man. So, now you got the fractional CFO. What's your day-to-day? Because I always say, like, for guys watching, we need a job description, right? Yeah. Whether it's the invisible man or, you know what I mean? Like, we want to think that. But, like, we have times where we go into the office. And I remember I was in that, maybe 5 years ago. I started going to the office and I was like, what am I doing today?
Yeah.
Right? And you get into that, you're like, what am I doing? But we are like the visionary. So, have you ever run into that? Like where you were like, man, what am I supposed to be doing? Or do you have a job description?
No, absolutely. I think last year I slacked a little bit. I think that was part of the reason, because I didn't know what to do. And then plus, I kind of like went from sacrificing 2 years to having a good bit of money. And now I'm going to enjoy it a little bit.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit too much. But yeah, I've had that where I've went in and kind of didn't know what to do and been stuck. Right now, this year, I'm more back to sacrificing and putting in more time to like I said, to build that foundation for the next 30 years. And we just made a couple key hires. So my day to day right now is a little crazy, and it's not going to be like that for long, right? Sometimes you got to jump back in the trenches.
You definitely do.
So right now, my day to day is, in the business, I just get in there, working hand in hand with my GM for the next 90 days, get him up to speed. Let him see how I make decisions, and then that way he can make decisions the same way. Working with the sales team, we were a little short staffed in sales. We had to let a few people go. So I got back in there on the sales floor and kind of like pumped my chest a little bit and showed them how good I was at sales. And it was actually really beneficial. Like the morale completely changed. I was in the sales floor for like 2 weeks, and it was just amazing to see like the turnaround. Just me getting out there and showing like, hey, I can do this too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hand in hand with the GM, sales, connecting with this field staffs, like when they're coming in or getting back, just having a good time with them, seeing how they're doing, checking on their family. And then now just really kind of optimize, like working hand in hand with my CFO as well, optimizing our OpEx and making sure that we're not overspending just because we have money, right? Like there's a lot of wasteful money being spent out that, you don't really notice when you're making a lot of money, but still not good to have that in your OpEx.
That's right, yeah.
So really just like that, and then future growth stuff too as well. Like,
love it, man.
Yeah.
So I think it's important too to know, for everybody watching too, because, we got Profit First down here, and Profit First talks. Yeah. And it talks about that because you talked about CapEx and stuff like that. And, we had 5 different bank accounts because when it's like the toothpaste analogy, you know what I mean? When you got all that money in one bank account, the reality is you still got to pay taxes, payroll, you know what I mean? But you're like, shoot, we got a lot of money, you know what I mean? And you're like, let's buy the next truck. And then you're like, oh, frick. You know what I mean? And so where Profit First really talks about is like, setting up your bank account, kind of like a folder system. And then you put the different accounts, OpEx, taxes, payroll. And then right when you get that, you take that money out of that one account and you just put it in all the other accounts. So it doesn't look like you have a bunch. Because reality is, you know what I mean? Like you got small tools and repairs, that stuff adds up. You got repairs on your vehicles. And you got to watch it. So like when I got my first ops manager, I was like, dude, we'll bonus you. If you can stay under, I believe it was 40%. And if you can stay under that, we would give him a bonus, and he would have to watch that, right? For fuel, where the guy's driving, or they, taking the long way to the job, and we started really calculating all that stuff, and we started pulling the freaking money out of the business. Because you can do it. It'll suck it, as we know, but you got to pull that money out of the business so you can be profitable at the end of the year.
For sure.
Hence the P&L, the tracking, the KPIs, having a fractional CFO saying, dude, what the heck are you doing? You know what I mean?
No,
Stepping
absolutely.
in, because if you're not watching it, man, it's like if you watch the pennies, the dollars take care of themselves.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, I found myself personally in the situation where you're like on cloud 9 during busy season. You think busy season is never going to end. Right. And then it ends. And then when it ends, guess what happens? That's when all the unexpected expenses come in. And you're like, holy smokes.
All the tires, right? Like, holy cow. Yes. We probably have like, I don't know, we probably fill a book, dude, with like employee stories, truck stories, you know what I mean? Breakdowns. But that's the reality, right? Like entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Like you said, we got to get back out there. Like we'll have to get the team pumped up, or sales will drop down a little bit. I know when I broke my leg in 19, dude, like we were cloud 9, right? Like things are going good, company's running. And thank God I had the people and the staff here. But, I broke my leg. I was on the couch, and then we started a new CRM, right? We're like, oh, yeah, we're going to try this new CRM. And then, dude, sales were like, poof.
Oh, man.
Down to like 20% close rate. And I'm like, oh, my word. So we had to turn it around quick, right?
Yeah.
And we did, you know what I mean? So we had the sales manager replaced. And so I was like, no, we got to go back, go back to what was working.
For sure.
And so we had to turn around really quick. And my fault was I actually unleashed it to the whole sales team, not just like one, which if I were to go back, I would do it to one sales rep, my top guy, and beta test it. Yeah. I was just like, no, it's going to work, dude. It worked for everybody else.
I did that with AI phone system.
Oh, okay.
So during the summer of 2023, I thought during the busy season, it was the perfect time to roll out an AI phone system.
In the busy time.
Yeah. And I didn't know that the company that I hired, the real backend company was Google, right? And Google is real big on privacy, unless it's for, like their own benefit.
Yeah.
But so anyone that would call in and we missed a call, we wouldn't have a number to call back unless they left it in the voicemail.
Oh, no.
So we had all these people, and we couldn't even check the voicemails. We had to go to the company and say, hey, can you send us the voicemails?
What a nightmare.
That didn't have, it was no benefit to us anyway. So, I mean, we projected that we probably lost $15,000 a day for 90 days.
Oh my word. And then you're like, cut it.
Yeah, cut it. And then we went to cut it. So we cut it at 30. We realized, oh, wow, we made a huge mistake. Let's go ahead and cut it. But then we didn't know that they had grouped our number together with a bunch of other people using the same system. And they had to do some special thing where they went and extract our number to give us access to transfer to another VIOP. It was just a complete nightmare.
Dang.
Complete nightmare. And then we had unhappy people that are like, we call them, they never answer.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, well, if you only knew, we're upset too.
What you got? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They have no idea. $15K a day, guys.
It was bad.
That's the reality, though.
Yeah.
There's so much like that. When you incorporate a new CRM and you're doing like text blasts and you're doing all this like automation, and then all of a sudden the customers are calling. You're like, dude, you're texting me at 2:00 in the morning, right? And we're like, you're like want to pull your hair out. But you're trying to serve them at a high level. We're trying to like do more, right?
For sure.
Oh, that's so funny. But it happens, man. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've done it, right? And you're like, busy season, let's get it while it's here.
Yep.
And then shoot, it went backwards.
Well, luckily we still were able to drive some leads, and we were having a good lead surplus.
Good.
And we just take all that kind of stuff. We just take as a learning lesson, right?
Yes.
Like you said with the CRM, if you would have went back, you'd have done one person. Same thing, going forward, if we were ever thinking about switching phone systems again, we would do it in the slow season.
Yeah.
We would make sure that we understood completely what was going to happen. If it didn't happen, how fast can we switch back? Just a learning lesson, right? That's all business is how many shots can you take to the chin and get back up and learn from it, right?
Oh, man. Did you guys hear that? How many times can you get in the chin, get back up? Because that's the reality.
That's all it is.
I feel like I'm getting hit like every other day.
Yeah, absolutely. Multiple times a day.
Yeah. No, that's really good, man. And that's what it takes, because it does take that grit and it takes that mindset. Like as an entrepreneur is like, why are we doing this at the end of the day? And it's definitely worth it. Like I've been doing this, pressure washing. Like think about this. I've been pressure washing for 18 years. Like
that's crazy. That's an accomplishment in itself.
Right? Like good night. But it's been like a blessing, man, like the whole industry and like just the mindset of changing me as an entrepreneur and giving back, right? Like those stories, you know what I mean? Like I know you pour into a lot of people and you're like, dude, don't do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I learned the hard way. Yeah, don't do that.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I love that.
That's so good. Noah, real quick, what are we at time-wise? 32? Mm-hmm. So we're at 9. What time is it? 9:02. We got my man, Noah, running the back scenes tonight. Killing it. Good deal. There it is. Give the thumbs up. But all right, well, guys, I appreciate you guys. Chris, thanks again, man, for hopping on here. One last question for the viewers.
Yeah.
So what would you leave at the end of this podcast? So somebody, inspiring entrepreneur wants to maybe go start their business. Maybe they got a part-time job or they're doing it on the side. What's some kind of advice you would give somebody?
I would say, don't wait to perfect the process. Go ahead and take action.
Yes.
Goya,
baby. Goya. That's right. Imperfect action's better than no action
Absolutely.
At all. I love it. Dude, appreciate you, bro.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Heck yeah. We'll definitely have to get you on again after, massive growth.
Sweet, man. Heck yeah.
All right, guys. Have an amazing night. We'll see you next Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Peace.